Hello, fifth graders. This is our last full week of school, second to the last week of school of the year. Um, we're almost to the end. We're getting really close. Um, this week, we are going to kind of finish up with our food webs, food chains, food pyramids talk. We've done this for a few weeks, and this is going to be the last one. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's just kind of review the food web. So usually you start out here, or you always start out with the producers, right? Producers produce their energy from the sun, right? They use sunlight and they convert that sunlight as well as air and water into um, sugars. So that's where they get their energy. They get their energy directly from the sun. Then you have some herbivores that eat these producers. Herbivores, in the word herb, means plants, and an herbivore eats plants. Okay, so you have some herbivores in this um, food web. These herbivores are eating the plants, the prairie dog, the grasshopper, the squirrel, eating the plants. Then you get into some higher level consumers. Remember, our consumers eat other organisms for their energy. As you can see here, our herbivores are consumers as well because they eat other organisms to get their energy. This bird would be eating this grasshopper to get its energy. We have the vulture that eats all the dead animals. You can almost put a line from all of these to the vulture. But they're scavengers, right? They're not killing these things. They're waiting. They're just eating the dead bodies. We have deer, which eat grass, and then way up here we have our coyotes and mountain lions. So our omnivores like the coyote and our carnivores like the mountain lion. What you notice here is that we have more producers and herbivores than we do carnivores and predators, right? We only have two predators here, but we have lots of herbivores and we have lots of producers. Because what's interesting is between these interactions, there's a change in the amount of energy. Um, sorry. After as energy is transferred, so as the prairie dog eats the plant, some energy is lost between each interaction, and that's a big deal. After each of these organisms um, eats, so we're talking consumers here, after each consumer eats their food, energy is lost. So between the interaction from the squirrel and the nuts here, the squirrel eats the nuts, there's some energy lost. Not all of the energy in the nuts is preserved. So some of that energy is lost, and as the mountain lion eats the squirrel, some of that energy is lost. So a good diagram that shows how much energy is lost is called a energy pyramid. And an energy pyramid shows that moving energy, or it shows moving energy as it passes through the ecosystem's food chain or food web, right? Food webs include more animals. So let's take a look at one here. So if you look at this food chain, or this is an energy pyramid, but it shows a food chain, right? We have our producer, we have our herbivore, we have our higher level consumer, this wolf. You have lots and lots and lots of grasses. and you have prairie dogs that eat those grasses. But as you go up this pyramid, energy is decreasing. There's way more energy at the bottom of the pyramid because we have lots and lots and lots of producers. We have many herbivores, but not as many producers, right? There's way more plants on the earth than we have herbivores. And then we have much, much, much less top predators. That's because as energy passes through the food chain, some energy is just lost. There's not as much energy at the top as there is at the bottom. So that's really important, right? If you have less energy in organisms, you can't have as many organisms. It takes a lot of energy to live. So you have lots and lots of producers because there's lots and lots of energy, right? As this energy is decreased as it goes up, you get less organisms. Now, there's still many prairie dogs, right? But there's much less coyotes or wolves. And that's the big takeaway for this week. When we're thinking about populations and we're thinking about energy, they're very closely related. So let's go look at a couple of food chains here. Let's see a better one. So if we're going to look at this food chain, and we were going to make a food pyramid, at the bottom of our pyramid, we'd have our producer, right? There's lots and lots of producers, so we'd have lots and lots of grasses. Now, as we go through this food chain, is energy created or is energy lost? It is lost, right? So we're going to have lots of primary consumers like grasshoppers. But there's going to be less energy here than there was in the grasses. We lose energy, so we also have less grasshoppers than we have grass. Then we have snakes. The snakes eat the grasshoppers. There's less energy because with every interaction or each step in this food chain, we lose energy. There's going to be less snakes than grasshoppers. And even further here, we have hawks. Hawks eat snakes. If you were going to make a food or an energy pyramid, would you have more hawks than snakes or less hawks than snakes? You would have less hawks than snakes, right? There's less energy. We lose energy at each step. There's less energy going into the top predators like a hawk, so there's going to be less of them. There's not as much energy as you go up the food chain. Okay, so that's our big takeaway for this week is these energy pyramids, okay? At the bottom of the pyramid are your producers. Your producers are plants or algae. Depends on your ecosystem. As you go up, you're going to have your herbivores, like in this case, prairie dogs. In Minnesota, you could have rabbits, you could have squirrels, you could have many different insects. But there's less of these herbivores than there are of the producers, right? And then as you go up from there, you have the things that eat the herbivores. In Minnesota, that would be like a hawk, an eagle, coyotes. Depending on where you are in Minnesota, bear. I heard there's a bear going around Piers right now. You have wolves in some parts of Minnesota. Bobcats, lynx, things like that. But you're going to have much less of the predators than you are the prey, right? We lose energy as we go up this pyramid, and you can't sustain as many organisms with less energy, okay? Okay, so for this week, your other assignment here is to, you're going to be, you're going to be checking your grade, okay? We only have a couple weeks left here. We actually only have this week, which is 4 days. Next week we have 3 days. So we're down to 7 days of science here. So what I'd like you to do for an assignment is check Synergy. Make sure your grade is up to date. Sometimes I miss things that get turned in late. Okay. Not everything sends me a notification when you get it done. So like when you do the ed puzzles late, I don't know if you've gotten them done unless you've sent me an email. Okay. So make sure your grade is up to date. Make sure you get your late work in. You can still get full credit. Big thing, get the ed puzzles done. That's most of your grade. The ed puzzles, get them done. If you have any questions, let me know with an email. I hope you guys have a great week. And if you have any questions, send me an email.